Is the Marvels the worst entry in the MCU? This is Exasperator Explains. The Marvels failed at the box office and has received reviews that are all over the place, with it being a good movie, to being okay, to being the worst superhero movie of the year in a year of disappointing superhero films. I think it'd be hard to argue that this movie does not have a lot of issues, and there are certainly ways this movie could have easily been improved. But how bad is it? Let's get into it. Bad motivations and stupid decisions. This whole film is replete with bad motivations and stupid decisions, not unique amongst comic book movies, but they were pretty glaring here. The film's villain, Dar-Ben, is the new leader of the Kree and is trying to restore the Kree homeworld of Hala, which has no air, no water, and a sun that is dying. But she also seems to be trying to restore the Kree Empire by asking planets to submit before she destroys them, which does not expand the Empire. But also she is trying to harm the planets that Carol Danvers calls home. Dar-Ben finds a quantum band which allows her to open new warp gates which act as a vacuum and begin sucking out the atmosphere of the Skrulls' new world, kind of like Spaceballs. Suck! This effectively destroys the planet. However, prior to this, she was negotiating a peace deal with the Skrulls where she was wanting to get them off planet in order to seal the atmosphere and also have them join the Kree. The thing is, the Skrulls seemed on board with this plan, but with Captain Marvel showing up, the Kree ended negotiations and then steal the atmosphere right away, killing nearly everyone. Next, she moves on to a water planet to steal water. Did the Skrull world not have water on it? How did they survive if it did not? Couldn't you also steal that system's sun as well? I get you have revenge as a part of your motivation, but come on, it's one-stop shopping. You already made the planet uninhabitable, plus there's going to be a lot of moisture in the atmosphere already, so you brought back some water. Just get it all from one location. Carol says she wants to restore the Kree homeworld, but we don't ever see that. The Kree certainly are not aware of any efforts, and it turns out she had the ability to restore the sun immediately, solving one of the major problems, but just didn't realize it? This was the reason behind a small conflict between Carol and Monica, because she never came back to check on her after setting an empire ablaze in a generational civil war. But what was she trying to do over the past 30 years she was in space? She could have solved this situation several times over with her power, which brings up the next point. The powers. Captain Marvel is overpowered. This was clear in her original movie and made even more clear in Avengers Endgame, where she destroyed a giant ship in 3 seconds. Much like Superman, if you have a character who is that incredibly strong, it can be difficult to create a narrative with a compelling threat. You can handle this in several ways, and the Marvels wasted 2 of those ways. Captain Marvel 2 should have been set right after the first film and focused on Carol Danvers fighting against the Supreme Intelligence of the Kree. The Supreme Intelligence has ruled the Kree for 1,000 years and is composed of the greatest Kree minds absorbed and assimilated into a supercomputer that governs their entire society. Captain Marvel is extremely strong, but she was still new to her powers, and facing something called the Supreme Intelligence should be difficult due to its intelligence. The classic brains versus brawn. To go back to Superman, think Superman versus Lex Luthor, or more appropriately in this case, Superman versus Brainiac. However, Carol defeated it immediately in between movies, which we see via flashback by flying to the Kree homeworld of Hala, bursting into the building where it is kept, and then destroying the Supreme Intelligence in like a minute flat. Well, there goes that potential obstacle and a pretty significant cosmic character from the comics. Another way to create a challenge is by granting the villain a power that negates the hero's power. And they did that with the Kree Supremer Dar-Ben. With the Quantum Band, she is able to absorb Captain Marvel's energy blasts and then redirect them as attacks. However, instead of using this as a way to limit Captain Marvel, make her learn to rely on her new teammates while she takes a back seat, which would also give her an opportunity to demonstrate her capability even without powers, she just continues to blast at her and then get her blasts redirected back at her or her teammates. Splendid. Also, they are trying to stop this new Kree leader from leaving worlds uninhabitable in her wake. There are huge stakes, and how do the Kree travel around? Oh, in a big ship, you say. Well, too bad our heroes have no way of defeating a large ship. Yeah, swapping places. The big gimmick that forces the trio together is that when they use their powers at the same time, they swap places. The problem with this is that it is done inconsistently. It weirdly seems to only be when they are using powers on their hands, maybe? There are several scenes where Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel are both flying at the same time, but they're not switching. So that doesn't count, I guess? Monica also flies while invisible while Carol is flying, and they don't switch places there either. You also would think it would force the characters to solve problems in interesting ways because they want to keep their power use to a minimum so they don't accidentally switch. Instead, they use their powers all the time and keep switching, often almost killing people they are trying to save since they're put in situations abruptly. The only exception is one scene where Miss Marvel is given a scarf whip thing and uses that for a while. MCU Continuity. I have watched every entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and at times, I had no idea what was going on here. And I don't mean the things they do reveal later on in the movie, such as why Captain Marvel is called Annihilator, or how jump points apparently work in the MCU. For instance, the Skrulls. At the conclusion of Secret Invasion, they are stranded on Earth, being hated and hunted, but here they have their own planet and apparently have for a while. They even have a Skrull Emperor. Is he new? Is this years later? If they have had this planet for a while, what was the point of Secret Invasion? Then there's the Saber Space Station. Yes, it was mentioned in Secret Invasion, but it is still weird to see Earth with various spaceships flying around and using jump points with random aliens on board. Is this where Nick Fury was during Spider-Man? Is this a secret from the general public? You can physically see the International Space Station, so I don't think a giant station with a space elevator would be well hidden. We are so far removed from our world at this point that it feels weird. And speaking of Nick Fury, who the heck is this Nick Fury? If you thought Secret Invasion Nick Fury was a departure from the character, get ready, because instead of being the gruff, serious leader from Avengers or the depressed old man from Secret Invasion, now you get the wisecracking, bubbly Fury. And if you said that he made jokes before in Spider-Man, that was a Skrull and not Nick Fury. Granted, Nick Fury was also one of the bright spots of this movie, and I think his lines were funny, but who is this character? It's just Samuel L. Jackson at this point. Also, when the space station is about to collapse, he does not have the civilian family evacuate first. They are among the last to leave, which is wildly irresponsible. Lack of conflict. Remember that scene in Avengers when Iron Man and Captain America are in disagreement and insulting each other because they have fundamentally different worldviews? Yeah, this movie doesn't have any of that. And I can see the argument that this is a step forward. There's the cliche that when superheroes meet for the first time, they have to fight and then they are buddies. But this was just weird. The interpersonal conflict that happens lasts for about a scene each and mostly just ends in hugs. When they are trying to rescue the Skrulls from their dying world, Captain Marvel yells at Miss Marvel that they can't save everyone and have to leave, as many Skrulls are left to their doom. This could have been with a great power comes great responsibility moment, or lead to her growth where she says, no, we can save everyone, and proceeds to do so against all odds. But no, she learns this lesson a little too well, because on the next planet, when the Kree are stealing water, Captain Marvel wants to keep on fighting, but Miss Marvel makes the call to abandon them to their apparent deaths and jumps the ship away from the fight. It's not 100% clear that they're all going to die, but I assume so if all of their water is stolen, and on the previous planet it kind of wrecked it. So either way, they're going to have a bad time. Captain Marvel yells at her for doing that, but then immediately forgives her and apologizes for yelling. Miss Marvel's reasoning is that because she has a matching quantum band, and they don't want Dar-Ben to get her hands on it, and of course she immediately gets her hands on it the next time they fight in front of the Earth's sun. In conclusion, now I've spent the last several minutes criticizing this film pretty heavily. I do have to say, it is not the worst MCU film. It was fine as a popcorn movie. Some recent MCU projects feels like a Disney shoving pig slop into my mouth and expecting me to like it, but I wasn't offended or abused like that. The movie was okay. It had some high points. I laughed at a few points. It didn't really have politics. It was just poorly handled. I think Captain Marvel was actually more likable in this than she was in her debut film. I don't know what sort of brain damage Nick Fury received, but he was fun too, even though he wasn't the same character. But with the film bombing, it may be worth waiting to check out on Disney Plus in a couple months, since no one is seeing it in theaters. But what are your thoughts on the movie? Is it the worst MCU movie? If not, which one is? What did you like or hate about it? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others for more content. Thanks for watching. Bye.